I hear you ask, who is Craig Young? Craig Young is a motivational speaker, educator, podcaster, children's ministry leader, and author. He has a passion for helping children develop confidence, faith, and life skills. He is a dedicated husband, father, son, brother, and uncle. In his own words, he says, "My passion for storytelling, education, and ministry drives my commitment to help children and families thrive, whether through books, podcasts, training, or children's programs. His goals is to inspire the next generation to grow in faith, confidence, and purpose." That's Craig Young. Thank me later. Hi, this is Roger Smith, and today I'm going to speak to Craig Young. Craig is a Man in School 1989 graduate. Craig, how you doing?
Good, I'm good. Good to be with you, Roger.
All right, good. Well, today is a special day for me because I'm getting to meet Carol Newman's brother, and I'm going to treat this like I met you in an airport, and we're just going to vibe and, see how things go. So relax, drink your
Yeah,
rum, and let's go.
yeah. Cheers to that, man.
All right, good, good. So, Craig, are you a Android man or a Apple guy?
Yeah, everything Apple, man.
Everything
What,
Apple.
what is Android? And I'm stuck into um, Apple because of the ecosystem and how everything is together and security. I remember
Okay.
having to set up an app, and that for Android it was like 30 minutes, and app is flying. Apple, like almost a month before you got clearance. I'm like, yeah, the security is top there. So when I'm on my app, I don't have to worry about anything because I know it's secure. Android, everything is free.
So when you get a text from someone and it comes up in green, and for those Android people don't understand this, green means you're not Apple, because when Apple people talk to one another, it's a blue box. Yeah, when you talk to people that come up green, are you a little bit disappointed with them?
Well, when I talk to my friends, I always like, do you have a phone? Yes. I said, what type of phone you have? And they said Android. I said, "No, do you have a phone? I'm asking about a phone. You don't have a phone." So
All
yeah, that's
right.
about. I managed to convince quite a few people over to Apple, and then they'll come and show me. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm really good at it. I'm really good at. So I have everything Apple. So watch, phone, laptop, desktop,
All
everything is
right.
Apple for me.
Good, good. So, what part of Westmoreland are you from, Craig?
So I'm from George's Plain, right at the George's Plain Primary School near the school. So I was just like a minute walk from school, and I was going to primary school.
Okay, okay. So when you pass common entrance to go Mannings, wouldn't you George's Plain people have problems getting the bus because they're full up at the Pearl Island, Burt Savannah, Grangeville people then?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you have to get there early. Funny enough, my sister and Cassandra's, we went to Manning's the same time. So I passed on the first try for
Uh-huh.
common entrance, and she was late to the third try. So we end up in the same year, and
Okay.
because she was Cassandra Young and I was Craig Young, we have to C Young. But she was the one who was well known, and I was a quiet, well behaving one.
Okay.
And when we are late because of the bus problem, we used to get detention. So it's always C Young and Cassandra, that's you. So she used to take all the blame for me. Yeah. So
Nice, nice. Wow, wow. I was talking to a young lady, a 2004 graduate, this morning, and I was just reminiscing on how difficult, we didn't know how. If someone says, "How are you getting to school this morning?" we wouldn't actually know. We wouldn't know what bus it was. We wouldn't know which pickup or what truck would pass and we can get to the back, or who I go to school that parents have a nice car that was going to stop at the crossroads for us. We didn't know. And these kids
yeah,
nowadays, they know, mommy and daddy will take them.
Yes, definitely. You have to walk to school, or you have to, you know, get pushed in a bus, and standing and they squeeze you in. Those bus are the coasters that come, and yeah,
It was a
it was
tough time.
it was a tough time.
So, let me ask you this: your drink of choice.
My drink of choice, Lasco. I mean, I just came back from Jamaica, and anytime I go to Jamaica, my suitcase, I go down with two suitcases, and one is coming back with Lasco. And you have to have Lasco.
Okay, okay. I think
So,
we used to have something similar called, I think it was called Nutriment back in the
nut-
day.
I grew up on milk powder, and if you want to get the strawberry flavor, you put the strawberry syrup with the milk powder, and you go to that. Yeah,
Hey,
but
that's
not
eh,
strawberry Lasco, which is my favorite.
wow, wow. What is your when it comes to meals, and you're in England now, so give me your best or your nicest English meal that you like, and then you're Jamaican.
Listen. I'm living in England, but I'm still having the Jamaican in me. So
Okay.
when you come to my house, there's nothing English. I cook everything Jamaican. So uh, if the sun is out, I'll do a nice jerk chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Um, every year, my wife and I we celebrate our anniversary by cooking some oxtail. I love
Okay.
my oxtail. Stew peas soup, or pea soup. Yeah, those things are good. When I was a child, it was dumpling. Anything with dumpling. I never, they talk about rice and peas.
Mm.
I didn't like rice and peas. I didn't like white rice. I like the rice and peas, but I didn't like the peas. So my mom would have to take out the peas, but it must have some color. Yeah. So,
You're one of those. The peas have to come out. Wow.
yeah. Yeah.
I remember at primary school. I think they used to at Unity. They used to do curry chicken back and white rice. Used to be
Mm.
really nice, but the rice used to have gravel in it.
Yeah, I remember that. And
I
you
remember.
bite and you go, what is that? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Listen, the curry chicken back is something that I live on and grew up on. I will tell you something about my dad. My mom usually works at the hotel in Bluefields, and we were left alone with our dad for some time when my mom is at work, and he was cooking chicken back, dumpling, and rice. But my dad is a man, when he's cooking, he put everything in one pot.
Hmm.
The chicken,
Efficiency.
yeah, man, the chicken, the dumpling, and the rice. But you usually have those curcinile. That was no curcinile is blue, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but then it was like water. You put it in those gallon jug.
Hmm.
He made a mistake having the water, thinking the water jug was water, and it was kerosene, and he poured it.
Ooh.
Listen, we were hungry that night. You know what we had to do? Wash off that dumpling and eat it same way.
Wow, wow, wow. That's third world for you. People don't even know what about it. Oh boy.
Yeah, but I
So
still, even though I'm in England, I still buy my chicken back now and then, and do some chicken back and chicken foot. Yeah.
tell me lunchtime in Mannings, what was that like?
Lunchtime in man.
When you got older, fourth, fifth so yeah, and the
Yeah.
dry bread I eat.
No, well, you see, I used to be with a group of guys, and we used to have to. Mr. Molai was the principal then, or the vice principal, and we used to have to go through the back. There's a fence around the back of the school. We used to go through that fence to go on to Mr. I just passed it the other day, around the back where there was a patty shop,
Uh-huh.
and we used to go around there before school lunchtime we come, and we go and we get the best hot patty and the cocoa bread and a box drink, and that was our lunchtime. In the canteen, I remember usually you have to skip the line and you have to nice up the ladies in the kitchen, and you can skip around and one man just go in and buy everything, and sometimes some extra thing coming out.
Oh boy, oh boy.
But that was lunchtime.
Okay,
And
so
I, and I couldn't. I had some good friends, and not that I had the money. Sometimes I don't have the money, but whatever you could get with your friends them help you out at that time.
it's amazing how much we shared and never feel aware when we go patty shop, who shot, we help catch up. Or
Yep.
sometimes you need to get catch up. A man
Hmm.
share a drink, you know what I mean? Some man not now go on with them, you give them half of your peg bread and piece of cheese, you
You
know.
have King Kong. You have your King Kong and your sock.
There you go.
Yeah,
Kisco. Yeah,
Cisco.
man. Yes, man. Yes, man. So tell me, how did you how when you graduated to living in, is it London or Birmingham?
London,
In
London.
London. And what part of London are you in now?
I'm in the southeast of London. The south.
Southeast. I'm a Tottenham guy, but I support Chelsea, but I'm a Tottenham guy. That's
Well,
where I lived.
well, yeah, yeah. My grandaunt is my grandfather lived there before he died, so I
Okay.
go to Tottenham and then, but I'm an Arsenal supporter, so I don't know how you feel about that, but
Wow, wow, wow. Hey, I've just got commiseration for you. This is gonna make this even nicer. So, how did you get from Mannings to being in Southeast London? I know you've been Coy, Lewisham. Hey, I'm from that area now. Walworth, Peckham, Brockley,
yeah, I'm in Lewisham, Catford.
Lewisham. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Catford.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
From so when I left Mannings, I worked for the first year. I was doing working at the NI office, where I was helping elderly people with their insurance. Then after that, I moved to Kingston to live with Carol, my sister, because she was in Kingston then, and I lived there. Worked at NCB for about 8 or 9 years, and then when I left NCB, I decided that I was going to um, do my own thing, teaching people to drive. So I started having a driving school, and in doing that, people are saying, "You're so good at teaching. You should go. You should do this more often, and you're good at it." So I went to the Michael, studied at Michael College, Teachers College, and graduated from there. Started to work at Mona Primary. And from Mona Primary, the first year at Mona Primary, my cousin, who also was from Manning, and he was working here at the time, and he said to me, "I have a job up here. You can come." So I left. I was actually at a conference for the new curriculum in Jamaica at that time, and I left and came to England. So in Jamaica, school gives holiday at the start of July, whereas here in London, school gives holiday more the end of July. So I think some schools on Tuesday before they break up. So I came and I met the head teacher, and got the job. And I never went back. So my wife had to sell out and come and join me here, but I was here, and then never looked back. I've been here teaching since then.
Okay. Okay. And when you say teaching, you mean always on maths? Any specific maths, physics, chemistry? We are teach.
So I went to Michael to teach. So when I applied, applied to teach maths because that's my favorite subject.
Hmm.
When I went to Michael, they said, "No, you're put into primary education." I'm like, but I applied for maths, and they said, "No, well, your paperwork is in primary education." So okay, fine. So I went in, and bear in mind that this was years after leaving school. So when I went, all the children in the class were just coming out of high school. I was, just married and 10 years.
Hmm.
I left school, so I was the grandfather of the group. But I ended up doing primary education, and have never regretted it. So I teach in primary school, and I teach every subject.
That's
But
good.
I specialize in computing and technology.
Nice. Are you a religious man, and how does religion help you in your life, sir?
Yes, a religious man. I grew up in the church, Adventist church, and I have been involved in church life if I'm in Jamaica. I'm a lay preacher, and I go around now doing ministry, preaching, uh, not only in England, but I went to South Africa doing ministry there, and I do a lot of work in the church for children's ministry and just supporting. So that has helped me. Faith has been essential for me because I haven't I couldn't have been where I am without faith, without that, Christ in my life. So I totally depend on him for everything. And I've left, and I've always said this, I've left Jamaica. I grew up a very, very humble home. I didn't know what poverty was because my home was full of love, and I was rich in love from my family and my dad and my mom. So, they showed me love all through, and that has kept me. And being in the church, the members, the prayers of all have kept me going, and I'm able to pass this down to my generation and to my children, and inspire a lot of young children now through programs I do for children in the religious programs and so forth.
When you're down, or you're at a really low point in your life, or explain a low point in your life, I'm more interested in how you pick yourself up. How do you get up off the floor when you're going through grief or really really bad disappointment?
Um, for me, I always my one of my favorite Bible character is Job. And if you don't know the story of Job, Job is, he had everything, or rich man, he had everything, and then everything started going wrong, losing everything he had, losing his family, losing his children. His body was weak, and everybody was saying to him, why don't you curse God and die? And he, in my own words, he look at the other opposite and say, if I curse God and die, well, if what happened if I praise him, then I live. So despite all the struggles, he continues to praise God, and God restored him. And so I use that as my motivation every time. So recently I just lost my sister, uh, Carol, you mentioned, and you did an interview with him. I just lost her, and I just came back from Jamaica, the funeral. But through it all, I, I didn't find it a grieving time, because her life was rich, and the reports and the feedback from everybody. And I believe God gives you and he takes. He's the creator. He brings us in this world. He can take us whenever. And, I always have this conversation with friends and family. What if one day you wake up and your house is gone, your children are gone, you lose everything? What do you do? And it makes no sense to worry or fret. And because if you trust him, that's God, he can do anything. And we have read so many examples of Bible stories and of real life and people in today's world who have testified of that faith. And it is something that is real, but you have to test it. It has to be acted upon. So when I'm down, I can remember those times, and I look back. If you look back into your life and realize where the things you have done, the silly things you have done, the things that you have done, that you, if God was decided to stop your breath and say that was it, it would be finished. But he still carries you through, and he still gives you another opportunity, and he still allow you to influence and to impact someone else. So I keep that in mind, and I just think that with him, all things are possible, and it makes no sense to worry. So yes, we are human at times. We will have those doubts and we'll have those fears and those things, but you have to pick yourself up and say, you know, I- in fact, it's starts in the mind, and I now do a lot of work and coaching for children on growth mindset, because if you think it, it is possible. But if you start doubting, it will then end up definitely how you don't want it to end.
That's a really healthy outlook. Do you have any vices?
Oh, I think for me, it's negative people, and people who always look down on others and can't see that they too are, as they're describing. So, people will complain about certain things, and then not realizing they too are doing the same that they're talking about. So yeah, I think that's
Hypocrites. But when I said vice, I meant more of are you a smoker? You like a little ganja? You like a little rum? Just to take the edge off in the evening, no? So
uh,
how do you take the edge off?
I tell you what. when I just left Mannings, I used to go down to Inting store, and I used to Friday evening used to go and drink with my friends upstairs Inting, and it was nothing strong. It was, shandy.
Yeah.
That's what I was drinking. But I realized that when I drink one or two or three shandy, by Saturday morning when I wake up, I would have a splitting headache. So, and then I thinking, why should I do that? So what I start doing is when I go drinking, I ask for blended fruits, and I usually have fruit punch or something like that. And I wake up fresh the next time. So I never really had drink. My grandmother was a smoker, and the closest I came to smoking was she'll ask us for a cigarette, and we'll try to light the cigarette and, you know, give it to her. But that was it. But for me, how I take the edge off, I, especially since the pandemic, have been doing farming. Somebody said, you can take the country, you can take somebody from the country, but you can't take the country out of you. So I have a farm, a allotment they call it here. So I go and I plant my greens, I plant my pumpkin, my corn, my potatoes, and all of that. So I spend a lot of time in the garden. At home, at backyard, front yard, I still do the same. So I spend that time, and I'm always planning and preparing workshops or doing things. So that's where get most of my time. When the family is gone to bed, I'm on my computer, I'm working.
Okay. When you said allotment, you reminded me of Patrick from EastEnders, but you know him. So tell me a typical day for Craig, and I'm intrigued because when we read your bio, I felt tired. When we read your bio, I had to go sleep. Come and say this man, I work too hard. So, what time you wake up in the morning, and just give me a typical day.
So a typical day, I wake up like probably if I'm going to work. So at the moment I do 3 days in school, so teaching, and the other days are my free days to do my own thing. So I'll get up like probably 7:30. Make sure I get my daughter out for school, and she's gone to school. And then I'll make sure I go out and I talk to my plants, water my plants, check on everything that is happening. Depends on the day. I might have meetings online. I might have some editing to do. I might have to go do some work in the evening. I'll make sure I do some cooking. I love to cook. So if my wife is gone to work, and I'll do whatever cooking I need to do. Um, Find something to do. I love to do a lot of DIY. So if I have time, I'm in the shed, just stringing up some music or experimenting with something that I have in the shed. In the evening, the family is back. Look and make sure the family is okay. Spend some time with the family. Although they'll tell you that I spend so much time doing work, sometimes I don't have time for them. But I spend some time with the family, and then once the family is gone to bed, I'll be back at the computer, writing, doing some work, editing, preparing a radio program. And yeah, I say I'll work late in the night until I am tired or until I think I need to go and get some sleep. If
Yeah,
I'm not going
midnight.
after midnight, past midnight, I won't say how late, but it's unhealthy the time I go to bed and wake up sometimes.
Oh
But
wow,
what I'll do sometimes I'll do a late night, and then the next night I'm out early enough to bed.
same, same.
But yeah, that's a typical day. If it's on a weekend, usually my weekends are busy with appointments, speaking engagement, or something like that.
Cool, cool. I'm gonna go back a little bit and ask you: when we die, what do you think happens to us?
When we die, our breath ends, we rot and go back to the ground, and there's nothing else we can do. It's the people who are left living who have to left. They are left to pick up the pieces. Um, I often wonder what it is to be at that moment of death. And the closest I've seen was just recently with my sister. I guess my sister was in Jamaica. My other sister Cassandra was in Jamaica, and I know my sister was Carol was sick, and she took her to the hospital, and she sent me, I think it was 2 days before, she sent me a picture, one of her forcing a smile and one with her mask, and you could see. And she started calling me Craigie boy, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not something she normally call me. And I just felt at that time that I didn't know that was the last conversation I would have with her,
Mm-hmm.
or that was the last picture she would have sent to me. But looking back at those pictures, you could, and we were talking by text for the days before, and out of the
Mm-hmm.
blue, she sent me those two pictures,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the last picture she sent me, and then I just wondered what went on, because the next time I my sister called and had a video call, and she couldn't speak then, and I just wondered what she was thinking with all
Mm-hmm.
this conversation happening around her, we saying, and she was just looking and just smiling.
Wow.
So I often wonder what that was like.
Mm-hmm.
I,
Mm-hmm. So, Craig, I'd be, I would be Roger if I didn't ask you this. So, I'm surprised that don't, you didn't speak about being on the right side of God in the rapture and all of this, and going up to heaven to drink honey and milk and stuff. How comes you didn't go that way? That's not your part of religion.
that's what my understanding of from growing up and from reading the Bible, you know, looking at, because I'm an Adventist. I go to church on a Saturday, but I don't just take religion by what the preacher or the pastor says. I
Mm-hmm.
look at it from my understanding and from what I read and what I study, and there's nothing that suggests to me or that says to me that you're going up into any rapture, or the dead knows nothing. And I've seen my dad pass, and now my sister, and you know what is there to know. As a child, you grew up and hear about Duppy and all of those things, but
Mm-hmm.
you understand that these are spirit. And yes, the devil can do anything to make people feel that they're coming back. But
Mm-hmm.
when you understand and you read the Bible for yourself, you understand that the dead knows nothing, and we have to wait. There's a coming, Christ coming, when those who are dead in Christ will rise again, and those who are dead, didn't die in Christ, who didn't give their life to Christ, will then face the consequences. Now, I always say, I want to live my life. What if me growing up as a Christian and it's not real? I want to grow up knowing that at least I live a happy life, knowing that I've done my best, more than waking up and realizing that actually this was real and facing the fire burning.
Right, right, right. Okay, I mean, I would say I don't know how similar we are.
Mm,
Um, I don't I don't have the names. I'm not into the God, the Jesus sort of stuff. I may refer to certain things as the universe, but I just think there's so much we don't know. I
mm,
think the amount humans don't know, or if it was a fraction of what we do know what's happening, it's so small. It is so small. For me, I just want to be a half decent person, better than the guy I was yesterday, and just
yeah.
hopefully be able to add more energy than I take. That's the way I look at it. But it's a tough one.
And you know what, there are many people, who will end up on that right side, knowing that they didn't have a label,
Mm-hmm.
but they lived the life and they did believe in that one person or that something or someone, but didn't understand. But the issue is, when you have been given the information
Mm-hmm.
and you are told about it, then you have no excuse not to believe. So I think that is where the issue. We are not going to say, because you are not an Adventist or you're not a Baptist or whatever, you can't go to heaven or you won't
Mm-hmm.
end up on the right side. It's just that you might not. have known it. But once you get that message and you are able to find that information, you have that obligation to make a decision then.
Well, I'll have to say to you, Craig, I don't want to go to heaven because there's a lot of honey and milk up there, and I'm lactose intolerant, and it's not for me. I'd have to take my lactate tablets with me, so no, sir. Hey, when you think of the future, Craig, are you is your outlook very positive?
Very positive. As I said, I do a lot of work around growth mindset, and I'm always seeing the positive in people, in things, and I'm always seeing the glass half full, not half empty. So,
And what do you do to keep yourself positive and to manage your own mental space? You know, because there is a time when, as the man of the house, you know, with all the responsibility, you want to go somewhere and scream.
mm,
How do you? How what do you do at these times?
I think listening to music is a
What kind
good
of
thing.
music? Sorry.
It depends on the mood. I love to listen to jazz, instrumental. So I listen to that. I love to listen to gospel sometimes, especially when the sun is out and you're driving. You just want to listen to some nice hardcore reggae music. You know, some
What would you
Dennis.
say? So, as a Christian man, what would you call hardcore reggae music?
Yeah, I said I'm telling you, some Dennis Brown, some Bob Marley, some of those good old time reggae music. Not the reggae music that doesn't make any sense. You know, when you listen to some Freddie McGregor, some Dennis Brown, and some of those music you grew up on.
Gregory
Uh,
Isaacs.
Gregory Isaac, yep, of course. You know, you want to hear some of those Sanchez, those, and even some reggae gospel. You know, so I love music. I can't sing. My son is a musician. My daughter is a musician, but I'm not. My wife sings. I just know good music. So I'll do some of that. You know, I'll go to the garden and there's allotment, and I'll just spend hours just looking at nature. And I think I'm learning over the years. I've learned so much about life through nature, through farming. So even today, I made a post about coming back home. I saw at my front yard, just at the roadside, a tomato plant growing by the wayside, and it just reminds me that wherever we go, whatever situation we find ourselves in, we just need to be us and grow. Because be us what we are supposed to be, not trying to conform. We can still blossom and bloom wherever we go. So that mindset for me is always there. And I tell you, my dad, you know, bless him, his words has lived in me forever since. He said to me, wherever you go, you know, it doesn't matter who it is. If somebody tell you to do whatever with your mother, your father, you know, being disrespectful, he said, I am here, I'm not feeling any pain. So they can say anything, don't respond. And he was a man like that, you know. When somebody he'll smile and say, all right, and he's saying all sort of things on his breath, but he's smiling with you. He's never a man to have any problem. And he said this, and I always say this to my children and to people. He said, just remember that there are some things, if anyone cry, everybody have the same thing coming out of their eyes, tears. If
True.
anyone get cut, it's the same thing that comes out of them, red blood. It's not going to blue or whatever. It's the same color blood. And then he said, and this is a kicker, he said, everyone have to go and do the same thing in the toilet. Even the queen, she was a queen at that, she was alive then. He said, even the queen, and sometimes theirs smell worse than yours. So just remember that, and from then I never see people high or low. I see that you have position or authority or whatever, but I always just see people as people. It doesn't matter who you are or where you are. You're just another body that does the same thing as me. You know, might have some responsibility or different responsibilities. So that's how I go through life, seeing life.
Where do you get the drive from to achieve and to want to be great, to be the leader that you are? Where did that come from?
My sister, Carol.
Wow.
I grew up watching her as a child, watching her studying by the home sweet home lamps with
Hmm.
candles, and she was dedicated to her studies. And then she left, and she started doing some amazing things. And we spend a lot of time, as I said in my post and in my since she passed, my writings. She was my everything. I looked up to her for her strength, for her work, for all that she was able to achieve. And even just at her memorial, and talking people talking about her achievement. And when I was going through her CVs and looking at her things and seeing all the achievement, even though I know all these things, when you see it all
In
together in one,
writing. Hmm.
and you hear all of it, and you're thinking, wow, you've seen the many places around the world that she has been part of organizations sharing and leading. And I was just thinking, she was my motivating factor, because I know where we grew up, where we came from with nothing, and to be able to achieve this. And she travels the world and doing all these wonderful things. And I think she motivated me. So once I'm here, and I start doing things, she was always the first one I go to, and I say, this is what I'm doing. We plan together, we do things. And even though she was there, she was my AI, my editor. She was the one I could piggyback off my ideas, my soundboard, and just wanting to be like her, to influence and impact people the way she did. And that's what drives me. And even now that she's gone, I just feel like I have this is the baton has been passed on to me, to carry on some of the work that she started.
Hmm. Wow. Big shoes to fill.
It's a very big shoes to fill,
Big shoes to fill.
but I'm not going to try and wear her high heels. I'm just going to try and wear my shoes
Right.
and follow the footsteps that she left.
Do you get any inspiration from Manning's? Was any of your drive, anything come from Manning's school?
You know what? I and I said it early on, when I was at the memorial. I felt like gave back to Mannings, and I was in touch with Mannings through her, because she
Hmm.
was so Mannings, and I'm a part of my 89 group, and I've seen the work that they do, and the togetherness that is there, and the history of Mannings, and seeing the achievements of so many people from Mannings. I'm just proud to be the place where, to know that I was part of this place that gave me all of what I achieved. You know, this foundation was set there.
Right.
Mannings was where the foundation was set, and I've had some lifelong friends from Mannings, and I might not comment a lot on the group, but I do see what people are doing. And in fact, Carl was helping me to start setting up the UK chapter
Hmm.
officially, because we have the last person who passed off. In here we had at the celebration of his life. We had so many people from Mannings, and I thought we have to do something official, because there are groups. But when I look at the UK, the US chapters and the Jamaican chapters meeting and doing so much, we don't have that here, and it's something that I'm hoping that I can finish and get going.
Hmm. Is there anyone from the other chapters that you reach out to find out what they done to solidify theirs, so you could learn, or
I,
adopt?
I, Carol was the person who was I was
Good point.
working with and so forth. But um, I know one of the person who I've always admired, or three people that comes to mind from Mannings, that I've seen achieve, and inspiring to know that they are also part of the history. You have Marlene Malahu, who
Yep.
is in the in the government there. You have Oral Khan. He also spoke at my sister's funeral. He was one of those major. And I always knew of him and see him doing a lot of good things. And then there was Kerry Wallace. who have been in that field, in the tourism field in Jamaica. Those people are people, when I was at Manny's, I hear about and I watched them, and I think they were at the top end of management. I just started, but the way they carry themselves, they were like the leaders, and they continue that into the work world, and I've seen them impact in Jamaica. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I was in Jamaica and if I spent the last 20 odd years in Jamaica, how much of an influence or impact I would have been to the institution. But I don't think it's too late to start doing something from my side.
Cool, cool. I have two more questions for you. One of the questions is, would you move? Would you move back to Jamaica?
I was recently asked that by my daughter, would I move back to Jamaica? And the answer is really no. I don't think
Okay.
I would move back to Jamaica. Um,
It's a good.
I
It's a tough question. I think a lot of people don't realize what a difficult question it is. You
I've lived
know.
more than half my life in the UK, and I guess I would go back to Jamaica. I definitely love going back to Jamaica,
Mhm.
and I would be there. But I don't think I would, for the work I do and for the fast pace that I think that's the struggle for me. Jamaica, mm, if there are changes in Jamaica, probably yes, but right now, I went back, and I'm there spending, a half an hour, just I mean half of a day just to get a simple transaction in a bank, than or spending an hour or more just to get some fast food. It's just like, I'm going to an office and I'm seeing, people still writing a big book where you have to write everything down. I'm like, with the advance of technology, what is happening, what can we do? But then, is it down to me to want to come back and help the country? Who knows? But at
Yes.
the moment, right now, yeah, it's difficult to see me going back to live there.
Well, I moved back to Jamaica. I just happened to spend 10 days a year in Jamaica. That's all. That's it for me. So, Craig, if you could go back and talk to your 18-year-old self, what do you think you would say to young Craig Young?
What I would say is to grasp every opportunity that you get, and take learn as much as you can from those teachers that you have, or those people that you have around you.
Hmm.
Because I tell you, two of my regrets, um, that and I think probably because I didn't have anybody around who was in that field or did anything like that. But I wish I had learned to play some musical instrument,
Hmm.
or sing, or do some acting or drama. Just that sort of skills. I wish I'd learned those times, and I wish I'd learned a foreign language. I remember at Manning's, by the end of first year, I didn't like Spanish anymore, and I dropped that. And then I moved to England, and I went to Spain, and they're trying to bubble a few words that I learned from high school, and I'm also wondering, what if I learn this language? And I had the opportunity, but I
Hmm.
didn't take it because I didn't. Recently, when I was in South Africa, I was saying this to some children. I was working at a school, and I was saying this to them. When I thought about me in Jamaica, why would I need to learn Spanish? Where am I going to go with this? The people in Jamaica don't speak Spanish. If anybody come here, they're coming from America. I didn't see the world as it was then, or it is now, because I didn't think that I would be going to Spain. And when I went to Spain, then I realized how much I could have done better if I had learned a language. So I would say, take the opportunity, learn what you can, then, because it will help you in the days to come.
You know, Craig, when I was growing up in Jamaica, I remember as a youngster, probably in third form, you know, you aspired to be like the best person in your district, which was really weird. And it just shows how limits can be set on people.
Yeah.
We could be a public health inspector, a policeman, a fireman, work in a bank, or teach if you were lucky, or get a job at Grace, or you know what I mean. There
Mhm.
wasn't much to and I just hope when you talk to children now, you know, especially from the country, and you ask them what would you like to be, I just hope there's so many more things that they will talk about. You know what I mean?
And I tell you, this is a danger. And, as I, currently looking at doing some training for teachers in terms of AI and technology. And it's, you'll be surprised how many teachers are so far behind on technology, even here in the UK. And then you think about the jobs. I used to say, back then I used to say the jobs that children are going to do in the next 10 years, but I can't say that anymore. I'm more saying the jobs that children are going to do in the next 2 years. We don't know what those jobs are going to be like. And if we are not preparing children for that future, and if we are going to wait or depend on children to be watching YouTube and seeing things on Instagram and thinking that's how life is, quick, we are setting up children to fail. And it's about, you're right, I didn't have those influences. Carol was the only one I could see, I could motivate me, because I saw the progress she was making. I wanted to be a bank manager. I went work in the bank for 7 or 8 years, and I did everything in the bank. And I was sitting on money and throwing money around, and I got bored, because that was nothing, and that was the job at the time. You wear a tie and a shirt, and you go to the bank, you work at the bank. It was a big thing apart from being a
Mr.
doctor.
Young.
Yeah, yeah. And now, that you don't have tellers in the bank so much, because everything is captured by technology. You have to go to the bank anymore. So it's the sort of thing we need to prepare children for the future, and letting them know about the world to come, technology, and we have to prepare them for that.
By the way, I haven't been to a bank in probably 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, neither have I. Neither have I. So, apart from when I went to Jamaica, I have to go to the bank to do things. And
Yeah.
it took me half a day, and they even now give me some papers that I need to sign up to come. And like, really? But yeah, that is it.
Hey, Craig, I'm really appreciative that you took the time to come on my forum, man. I really enjoyed talking to you. When I read your bio, I thought you would be a little bit more stricter, a little bit more religious, but I'm actually pleasantly surprised how relaxed you are. Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. Life is too short, and we have so much to give. We don't have time. I don't believe in pushing religion into people's face. The best form of ministry, or the best form of evangelism or anything, is by your life. You
Yes.
don't have to. I follow the Jesus model. When Jesus was on earth, what he did, he mingled with the people. He took care of their needs, and then after that, he wanted to go and rest. What did what happened? The people followed him, because he was not going saying you need to come to church with me. You need to, you know. He took care of their needs. He took care of them. He spoke with them. He made sure he had that relationship, and that's what I, follow that model. That I need to know you. I need to have no take about your personal. You can imagine you come to me and saying you have a problem, and I say let's pray about it, without me having to understanding you and seeing how I can help. Because if I help you, if I am then there for you during the tough times, then you're going to want to know why is this person like this. So whatever I achieve or whatever I do is not anything for me. I don't feel like I've achieved anything. I just give the best of what I can, because it makes me happy. It makes me feel good that I'm doing something. I'm helping somebody else because I know the help I've gotten from people when I was there, when I grew up not having anything, and people were there to support my family, support me. And, I can never forget those things. How I grew up, where I'm coming from.
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, man. So once again, thank you very much for taking the time out, my brother.
Roger, it was great chatting with you, and I knew you before we even chatted because you interviewed Carol, and it was a great work you did, and I'm thankful that you did because I was able to share her with the world. People could see who she was,
Hmm.
and as I was saying earlier, and I was supposed to do that interview with her for my platform, and
Hmm.
yeah, she just kept putting me off. But you were the one who won in the end, so kudos.
Persistence, my brother. Persistence. Yeah, man.
Not when you have family.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Family, it's harder to persist and get through.
All right. Respect. Thank you very much, bro.
Yeah, welcome, sir.
Take care.
Yeah,
Bye
bye.
bye.